It's unlike what I've experienced in my career thus far. It's quite Marvel is quite a world. And
Good morning.
good morning. How are you?
Good, how are you? Can you hear me okay?
Yes, Alyssa.
Yes. So wonderful to meet you. It's such an honor.
Oh, pleasure to meet you too. Thank you.
Thank you. I'm also going to be having Nick from MCUN join us in a little bit, but until he comes on, me and you can start. I know you probably have such a busy day with everything Captain America coming out right now.
It is. It's unlike what I've experienced in my career thus far. It's quite Marvel is quite a world. And when I did the Captain and the Winter, or the Winter Falcon and the Winter Soldier, I got a taste of it. But this is full bore.
Oh yeah, this is definitely, I've been seeing them do press in Vegas, I believe Italy, everywhere. And I was able to see 30 minutes and I haven't been able to talk about it, but I could talk about it with you today, which is good. But yeah, it's definitely, I'm very excited for it. I think I'm really excited also because we get to see more of your character and his backstory, and it's very reflective of almost, the world that we're in today.
Yeah.
And I think that's why I'm really excited to speak with you as well. Of course, also because of your amazing body of work. I mean, you were the first ever Black superhero to be on television, and that itself is so amazing. And I even hate to say that there has to have been a first, anything, because it should have
Yeah.
been normal and it should have been there. But I do want to ask you, like, how does it feel, coming from that and coming from such an iconic role, and then kind of seeing Anthony Mackie step into the role of Captain America as well?
Um, First, I'll start with the second question. Seeing Anthony Mackie step into the role is, for me, is quite beautiful because, of course, I'm a good bit older than you, and so my memory goes back a lot further to a dearth of individuals who looked like me or reminded me of people I knew. And you think about Superman and Batman and all of these individuals, not even the larger characters in fiction, but there was just no representation. So when I did Falcon and the Winter Soldier, to see for both my character, Isaiah, and for me, to see Anthony Mackie as the Falcon was quite something because Isaiah's been out of the world for so long. To imagine that this is possible kind of shakes him up. And then after what Sam does for Isaiah, um, Isaiah has to admit that things have changed. It is indeed a brave new world if you're brave. Um, so that's thrilling. As for, I think Mantis is the character that I played, who was the first television's first Black superhero. And what was wonderful about it to me was that he was super heroic in the way that I know people can be, not superheroes in fiction, but in real life. People who see a problem and use all of their intelligence, who have obstacles, but try and overcome them to do what they think is best for the greater good for mankind. And it sounds grand to say it, but I think each one of us has that little piece of mankind to take care of. In the novel Brave New World, um, the quote is taken from Shakespeare's, I believe it's The Tempest, where Miranda sees these strangers coming to her island and says, "Oh, brave new world that has such people in it." Now she doesn't know what these people are actually not the best people, but her notion of it is when you see an opportunity and when you see a world opened up before you that you didn't realize was there, it broadens your own world. I think that's what Marvel has the ability to do, the power to do, and I would say it's really timely right now.
It very much so is, and that was follow-up to my next question is, with Isaiah's story, particularly the portion that we saw, you know, everything he's gone through and is going through is very reflective of the world. And I think what I love what Marvel does is they use these superheroes and they use these stories to tell real stories and to
Mhm.
show, different generations like this is what's happening in life. And I think it's the particular scene when they're about to apprehend Isaiah and you just see the fear and the sadness in his eyes. And we've seen that so many times today. For me, how do you think this film will like continue that conversation and just bring the message to different generations?
Well, I hope it will, and I think it will create any number of conversations, as anything that Marvel does seems to, both pro and con. I remember when the argument a couple of years ago was that Marvel films weren't um, real movies, real cinema. I think they made too much money, and they were too accessible. They were too maybe perhaps they were too popular. And I think the trick of it is you can view a Marvel film as pure entertainment. Certainly, I think this is true of our film. And then you may be receiving information and things that you will think about later after all of the excitement has worn down and you're left with the body of what the film was trying to communicate. And so if it works on both levels, I'll be really happy.
I think it definitely does from what we've seen anyway for now. So I want to ask, you're part of a legacy of powerful Marvel characters that are kind of bringing the MCU back. How does it feel to kind of stand alongside these heroes and be a part of the future of the MCU?
Um, I'm thrilled to be here right now in the present. And I think, the way I think of the present is it contains the past and the potential for the future. I don't I don't look back a lot. Um, at my age, I have forgotten some of the things that I could look back on, and I have tremendous hope for the future. I think that's all you can have. I'm going to take the next step forward, as are we all, and we have to believe that if we know how to walk and we think about where we're putting our feet, we'll find a good path. And I believe that's part of what a brave new world is about. Whether we like it or not, we are where we are, and the only way through is to go through.
Thank you. Thank you for sharing that. I am really excited for this movie personally because of the messages it gives. And I would rewatched all of the Captain Americas these past 2 days, and just from the 30 minutes that I've seen, I feel like this is going to be shaped to be my favorite one. So I'm really excited for the
You
premiere.
rewatched all of the Captain
Yes.
America
Sure.
in 2 days.
She makes sure to keep everything intact with all details. Yes. Give credit to Alyssa. Yes.
Thank you, Nick. Yes, I almost didn't wake up this morning because I fell asleep. We were watching it and it was almost midnight, and I was like, okay, I need to get up early because there's some long movies.
Well,
Uh,
I have to tell you, one of the things that is kind of thrilling, and I guess it goes along with where Marvel is we are in a brand new world. And I think part of that new world for me, if I think about, let's say, 25 years ago at the beginning of the century, what we see now in terms of the ability to communicate, the fact that you are wherever you are, I am wherever I am, you are wherever you are, and we're all able to connect. That's something we should take full advantage of. And obviously, there are some actors within the community, as in every community, who are not operating at the top of their intelligence or with the fullness of their heart. But for everyone who does, and for people like yourself who will take the time, who will investigate, I think that's why we do what we do. And that's the potential it has to change the world every day.
Exactly. And it's an honor for both of us to be able to speak to like our heroes that we see on TV that we grow up with as children that like mean something to us because it makes it more real and it's like, we are connected to them and it's not so far off as like when I was a kid, this was probably never possible. We would have to physically come to LA and it's a whole thing. So it's definitely wonderful and amazing. I have a fun question for you. So if you could team up with any superhero from any universe, who would it be?
It would
And
be
I've seen
Jean.
your work. You have been in a lot of superhero stuff as well.
Yes. I think if I could, if I, as Isaiah Bradley, could team up with me as Jean Jones, Martian Manhunter,
Yes.
and bring the two worlds together, DC and Marvel, holding hands, my hands, that would be my ideal.
My childhood right here. This guy right here.
Thank you so much.
Oh,
Yeah, that was a joy. And I didn't grow up reading comic books, and I wasn't allowed to. My parents were pretty clear on what was literature and what was not, what was important and what was not. And I think some of that is a bit of a privileged point of view. If you can't get to a library, yeah, but you can get to a drugstore or a comic bookstore, and that's your point of entry. It does not matter if you're reading, if you're taking in information, if you're being told a story, that's literature. And I think that, again, is the power of what Marvel has going on. I don't pretend to understand how they do it. I look at the films that they produce, and they're technological wonders, and they still bring real stories to people's hearts. I think that entire enterprise is about love, and I'm big on love.
thank you. I love that message because it really is true of Marvel. And it really is amazing like what they do. We watched Civil War last night. And
Mm.
when you watch these things when you're younger, I was like, wait, all of them came together in this one? Like I don't remember this. Like what? How is that even possible? Is there another superhero over here? I was like, wait a minute. My brain is not the same anymore.
Right, right.
But
Yeah.
it's definitely wonderful and it's truly like magical. And they've been doing this, both Marvel DC from way back when, and it's crazy to see like this creativity come to life. And I did want to ask, like for you, what's the most important lesson your character Isaiah has taught you about resilience and hope?
Hmm. I think hmm, that's a wonderful question. Obviously, one I'm slightly unprepared for, but let me take a stab at it. Isaiah represents someone who is betrayed, and the I think the tendency when you're betrayed, certainly the tendency in literature and very often in films, is there's going to come a day of revenge. And there's going to be an opportunity for you to strike back, to inflict on someone the same kind of damage you feel was inflicted upon you. Isaiah does not have that instinct. He simply wants to be all right in the world. And he wants the world to leave him alone. But if the world won't leave you alone, you have to find a way to be at peace in your own world. You have to create a brave, brand new world inside yourself. And that's possible no matter how dire your circumstance, no matter how much you've been torn, no matter how much you've been betrayed. There is a possibility for love to reach through all that. Isaiah has the love of his wife, Faith, who he married, but never got to live with, who um, he had a child with. She was pregnant when he left her, and his entire world was turned upside down. But he still has that love inside him, deep, under scar tissue. But that's all you need. I think it's the same thing as a beating heart. That's what powers a beating heart is love. So that's my continuing takeaway from Isaiah. No matter what he goes through, that is untouchable.
Thank you for sharing that. I think his story is going to be one of the most powerful in the movie. I mean, just the scene where, he's wearing the suit that he got married in. That scene broke me because that was the thing from his wife that he wanted to protect. And I was like, oh my God, like I'm gonna start crying. Like I'm gonna be a
Yeah.
mess.
Listen, I'm pretty soppy, so it doesn't take it doesn't take a lot. I remember the birth of my son. I thought that the people who were delivering him were going to have to leave my wife to come take care of me because I was emotionally lost. And I think that is something that is not necessarily always acknowledged, is that particular power, the strength and power of the memories we hold, negative or positive. They say that the most difficult thing to do is to forgive someone you know you've wronged. And I think that many of the conflicts and a lot of the strife that takes place in our world is because people know they've not behaved well. I think despite that, everyone has a chance to do better. And I think to do that, you have to acknowledge that you have to be in a brave new world and you have to be brave inside it. I just keep coming back to that, no matter how large or small your world might be.
I completely agree, especially in the times we are in now. It's so many things have happened in January alone that I'm like, we need these films because we need to escape but also learn from it.
And we need each other. And I think whatever, however, that's why a community like the community that the Marvel world has created, I think is so vital, essential. And we have to keep talking about all of it, all of the difficult, quote unquote, impossible conversations that we don't have. Yeah, maybe they are impossible, but if they were possible, what would they look like? I think Marvel offers the opportunity to explore that.
And they do, in a beautiful way to all characters in all
Yes,
projects.
absolutely. Across the board, and hopefully that just keeps binding us. All these tendrils of love and connection bind us, and even when we are beginning to drift apart, separate, factionalize, pull us back together to one core understanding that there's one love.
Thank you. Nick, I know you also had some questions for
Uh,
Carl.
oh, yes, I do. And
All right,
also,
man.
I apologize. I was making breakfast for my mom, but now I'm here.
No, never apologize for making breakfast for your mom.
Oh, thank you, Carl. Thank you. Anyway, been a huge fan since I was a kid, and it's an honor to meet you virtually.
Thank you.
So I just have to, like one of the big questions, like I don't know what the plans are, for Brave New World or for Marvel Studios, for you. Like, is there any, I just want to hear, from you. Like, is there any desire, to explore, a flashback story of Isaiah Bradley, instead of being in prison or being experimented on, but going off, in missions because it was confirmed in the Falcon Winter Soldier that he faced, you know, Buggy Barnes, in the past in North Korea. But there has to be like more missions because in the comics, Isaiah Bradley, he had his own Captain America suit and a bandana. Because I would like to see, Isaiah going off Rambo on so many missions, and he had his own shield, like because there's Steve Rogers' Shield and Sam Wilson, he has his own, and John Walker, he's gonna have his own layer. But what about you, your own shield? Like how it would be like just a moment of triumph just to see you, having your own shield and secret missions. What do you have to say?
Well, of course, I don't know what the plan is, which is yeah, very much the way I've lived my life. Certainly, I've never known exactly what was coming. I certainly have desires. I love this cat, Isaiah. And for me, his primary mission right now is to be in the world. Someone who was shut away, who was brutalized, who has every reason to either remain in seclusion or to go on a rampage is in the world, just in the world right now. So that's his triumph, and that's his primary mission. If there are other missions to come, um, that would be great. But I think he's living a massive mission right now.
Yeah, yeah, like and other, missions, to come along with because I know there's a great future for Isaiah because, you know, he went through just a horrible tragedy, but just to see that he cannot give up and like you said, you spread, you think about love, on the inside of the human spirit, it's just a great insight. It's
Well, what I must say, Nick, is I love the idea of the missions that Isaiah will go on in the minds and hearts of the people who love this character. I mean, as you just mentioned, you've already put him back in the bandana. He's got a shield in his hand, and in your mind, the possibility is he will go off and do other things. And so, at whatever point that happens, I think that's alive. And it tickles me that people love the character as much as they do, um, have their own fantasies about what might or might not happen. And this is a fantasy world, so never say never.
yeah, yes, of course. And yet later it happens just soon afterwards. And I just have one more question. It's about your fellow castmate in The Falcon and Winter Soldier. Isaiah Richardson. He did a great job with
Ah.
Eli because there are talks right now that Marvel Studios may do a new Avengers. Younger kids.
Mm,
His character, he continues, becoming the next Captain America, the Patriot. But before, so in the comics, he got injured, and the only way he can survive is through Isaiah's, blood
blood,
transfusion. Like,
right.
do you have any praises, for Elijah, for himself, for a future possibility of his own show,
Well,
whatever they're gonna do?
I
He's
don't know. I don't know what they're doing, but he's he is a first lovely young actor, and I thought he embodied a lot of what Isaiah had in him when he was a young man. He's very forthright. He's very no nonsense, and it's not quite taciturn because he has a, a a streak in him of not maybe mischief. He's not overawed by anyone. He meets them at the door, and he's on a mission. He's protecting his grandfather. So I loved working with him as well. So I hope that there's a place for him in anything the Marvel Universe does, but the idea of a young group of Avengers, that sounds wonderful to me.
Yeah, because there's a lot of kids coming around and they are doing such a great job. And seeing Elijah with the other kids, I think they would do great, together, for this project. It just depends on when Marvel will announce it. But yeah, like he is a really great actor. I've interacted with him on social media a few times. Really nice guy,
Yeah,
just like
yeah,
really, really nice guy.
yeah. I would say this also, he's well raised, and that's key and important.
Yet he continues on, in the MCU for his character between you guys. Yeah, I could definitely see a possibility, for him for his future.
Well, talk to somebody, Nick.
We have to put it in there, but I would like to add, I would love to see Isaiah have his own film. I think that would be super cool. So we can pray to the Marvel gods wherever they are.
I mean, heck, like in the first Captain America movie, Howard Stark, he had a bunch of shields, like just like you say, you don't know if you'll just say never or whatever one of the shields. I just hope that one of them will be for Isaiah Bradley, for his movie. We'll just have to you know,
Well, I think that the shield that you're making reference to, the double V, right? The
yeah,
victory at home and abroad.
yeah.
I just think that message resonates today in a way that it didn't for me when I started doing Isaiah a few years ago. So I think it is, victory for everyone is what I think that shield represented. Victory for people who can't fight for themselves, who have a champion. Victory for people who live in a homeland and they want to retain that right to live where in the place they've always known. Victory from invasion, victory from intimidation. All of those things are, I think, embodied in what Isaiah thought he was doing when he went out and fought against the Nazis. In truth, one of the one of the most amazing things to me was that scene that they put into that comic with Isaiah being interrogated by Hitler and Goebbels, and the idea that they were trying to entice him to fight for the Nazi cause. And at the end of their pitch and their spiel and how much they understood what America had done to his people, and if he would fight with them when they win, they would free all Black people. And he says, hey, guys, my wife would kill me. That is the human spirit, the indomitability of it, and the fact that if my life is of any meaning, it's because of what I stand for, not because of what I'll fall for. Um, I think that's a good thing to embody, and I think slogans, shields, um, they all contain something that is real, that people are trying to express. And so I love that shield. I very much do love the idea of victory at home and abroad.
Thank you. Thank you so much for sharing all of this. I've probably taken up so much of your time. We
Oh
have like
no, it's
a thousand,
fine.
a thousand questions for you. I think my last one, because you have been in an animated version of Black Panther,
All
uh,
right. Right.
I was over here like digging into everything. Um, I have a lot
Yeah.
of watching to do over these next few days too, so I'll be up very late catching up on everything. I wanted to
Mhm.
ask you, like, what if you have any hopes for like the next Black Panther? I know, we sadly lost Chadwick and he will forever embody Black Panther for me. But what would you hope to see in like the future of the films? Because I know that it has been confirmed that there will be a third one.
Um, I don't know. I would like to be led wherever Marvel wants to take me with Black Panther. It was just it has been a wonderful journey. I would just like to continue on that journey and see what the next stop is.
Thank you. Thank you so much for all of your time. It was so wonderful to meet you virtually, and hopefully we get to meet you at the premiere.
Yeah, yes, well, I know I'm going to be there, and
Yeah,
okay, I look forward to it. Nick, pleasure
it's a
to
big honor to
talk
me.
to you as well.
Thank you so much. Hope you have a wonderful day and almost
I
week.
most definitely will. All right,
Thank
take
you.
care.
Nice to
Bye-bye.
meet you.